There seems to be this reckoning that's happening now.
Oh boy, isn't there? When chickens come home to roost.
How do you, being a woman at the birth of the hip hop era in the early 2000s, experiencing what you experienced, seeing what you've seen, do you feel like good? It's happening, and I'm glad that someone is leading the charge in making these men be accountable for their bad actions back in your prime of being a music video
Yeah,
person.
absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, it's like there's so much whataboutism happening in the in the general conversation about, who's been taken down and whatever else. Oh, it's another black man being taken down. It's just like, yeah, but what if he was the predator that he's rumored to have been, and that there's proof out there, and that people have been screaming from the rooftops that this is how this person conducts themselves, and this is how this person treats people. What about that part, Like, two things can be true at the same time, and that's one of my favorite things to say. Two things can be true at the same time. Somebody can be responsible for a catalog of music that is literally the soundtrack of our lives, and we regard them with so much fondness in that way, and they're also a terrible fucking person and a fucking predator. Yes, that both things can be true at the same time. Like we hold celebrities like on this pedestal, and it's just like, these are real actual people that some of them have some very specific deviances, and it's only fueled by attention, fame, money, and how much people just kind of like bow at the altar of fame. Like in essence, we kind of create these monsters, and it takes a really long time, like what we're seeing, 30 years for, this reckoning that's happening. But I also think that a lot of what's happened is during the time that we were, where I was at my most popular doing music videos, we didn't have, first of all, there was no human resources. So if something happened to you, who were you complaining to? And I'm not even talking about just video girls. There was the ancillary women that were working, casting directors, directors' agents, glam squad, creative directors, video commissioners, wardrobe, stylists. Like, all of these women were not, they were subject to the same amount of, of attention, or, like that they, attention that they didn't want, like, male attention that was like kind of unsolicited and predatory. They were subject as well. And so there being no human resources, like, who do you go complain to or tell that this has happened to you? Like, where's the penance? Where's the consequences for the action? There was none, and it got to the point where people were just like, it wasn't just like I've said before, it wasn't that it was just, accepted. It was expected that something would or could happen to you. And you just had to figure out how to be hypervigilant about your safety and also creative. And a lot of women just kind of like, a lot of them, their plan of action was just to serve up a tadpole in order for her to escape, the attention that she did not want. The predatory.
So they would take some of the extras and prop them up for these men and take advantage
Yeah, I mean, and that's just an example of somebody who's just much lower on the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? So this was just like the way that it just was. It was the wild, wild west. It was treacherous. We were swimming in treacherous waters with sharks, and there was tadpoles, there was frogs, there was a whole bunch of marine life in there. But you had to kind of decide which role you were going to play. And sometimes the role that you chose was literally for the purpose of survival,
Were you ever invited to Diddy's freak-offs?
No. I've been at Diddy's parties. It's not the same thing. Yeah.
And what would you see that was sort of like interesting?
A lot of very famous people.
In compromising positions?
No.
Okay.
No. Like Diddy's parties were world renowned. Everybody knew about them. They were incredible. You know, just his chill stuff at the, you know, one of his houses. They were like, everybody wanted to be there, you know? So, I mean, like, last party that I was at, like, Mary J. Blige, Quincy Jones was there, like, everybody was there. But it was like everything was basically on the up and up. This was just a party. You know, I feel like there was something happening in town, like maybe it was like BET Awards or Grammys or something like that. So this was like the last party that I was at, which would have been 2017, because 2018 was my car accident, and that's where my life shifted dramatically. So I wasn't really going out to a lot of parties, but that was the last party that I was at, and it was a big party. There was a lot of people there, but I wasn't there for the freak offs. I was reading the indictment and the lawsuits like everybody else, like mouth agape, you know, wow, but.
Does it surprise you?
No.
No.
Not even in the slightest bit.
Because you
just and
heard things.
Yeah. Also, but like people are like kind of marveling at his level of recklessness, and I'm like, you around enough like exorbitantly rich men, and I call it rich man syndrome. You know, they drop something on the floor and they're like, somebody got to get that. You know what I'm saying? Like they just. They walk through the world blithely, like there's a wake in front of them, like the Red Sea's parting, and they just expect everything and everybody to like kowtow and bend to their every whim and that sort of thing. And it's like, it's rich man syndrome. And if you're rich and you're famous and you're powerful for a long amount of time, look, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's like, it's the rarest of person that really stays, you know, kind of like with their moral compass pointing due north. You know what I'm saying? I feel like compromise, if you're not just a complete and total deviant, I feel like compromise, especially in Hollywood, compromise can like, you know, slowly start to like, you know, move that compass needle like down a little, but it happens incrementally, like kind of, you know, at a glacial kind of pace where you don't even notice it. And then one day you look up and you've got 1,000 bottles baby oil and, you know, like, and you're recording yourself having sex with everybody and you're beating people. It's just like, I think it's a gradual process, but it happens to more people than you would want to believe. So there's more than just him. There's way more than just him. And honestly, I can't wait for this trial. I am going to be sitting there with my popcorn because I cannot wait to see who they subpoena.
Do you think more men are going to be exposed? That
yes.
Based on what you may know or have seen, do you believe that more men are going to be exposed like Diddy is based on what you know and have seen in your lifetime?
Yes, and that's just simply because of like the close proximity of all of them. You know what I'm saying? And just, you know, it's just so interesting when you think about it. Who was it? Was it the VMAs that just gave Diddy the Icon award? Or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And New York just gave him the key to the city, like maybe the same year or something like that. We were referring to this man as Black excellence just less than 2 years ago, you know? And when you look at like the Rock Nation brunch and you see like, you know, or like a Floyd Mayweather fight, or you see, you know, just the events that everybody wants to be at, and then you see the people that breathe the rarefied air, you know, and who they just spend the majority of their time with. It's not a wild notion to think that, you know, behind the scenes that there is a lot more connective tissue. It's just, to me, it's like a foregone conclusion, you know, so we're probably going to be hearing about a lot more, you know, names and public figures with accusations being leveled at them or being, you know, kind of caught up in this dragnet.